Welcome to our bonus episode, everyone. Wosny Lambre joins us and is kind enough to join us for our bonus episode since, Cenk is off gallivanting with celebrities and doing his own coverage of the joint session of Congress that Trump is going to address today. How are you doing, Woz?
I'm good, man. I'm just excited to hear from my president as he addresses the nation and, brings us up to speed as to all the amazing things that he is accomplishing in his first month in office for the American people.
Yep. I mean, among them, dismantling the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, so there's no cop on the beat when it comes to big banks ripping off American consumers and customers. Also, the ending of an anti-money laundering regulation, there was that. Oh yeah, the dismantling of the Social Security Administration, which could lead to people not getting their Social Security checks on time. All sorts of things, lots of great things happening. No, but in all seriousness, Woz, you look at the polling and it is true that he is losing some favorability among swing voters, independent voters. But so far, I mean, when it comes to the bulk of what Trump has done so far, his dealings with Ukraine, cutting federal government programs and firing federal workers, he's still seen as very favorable among his base. So he's probably feeling real good about himself. Like I don't think he cares at all about what the left thinks. And sure, he could lose some support among independents, but as long as the right-wing base is still on his side, I think he's going to continue moving forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't see how he doesn't, right? Especially if the support is there, and especially if the congressmen and senators who have to support and buttress at least some of his agenda, the ones that they want to be more long lasting in the Congress, so long as they're not getting heat from their constituents, which I don't think is going to take that much longer. The second people start missing Social Security checks, the spending cut, the tax cut that just passed in the House of Representatives, which goes to slash Medicaid, which I know Republicans always think because it's poor people that they can just do it because they're so used to beating up on and bullying poor people in both rhetoric and policy that they think they can get away with it. But the problem is, Trump has created this multi-demographic reaching coalition. A lot of their base support are people on Medicaid.
Yes.
And so if they put that through and start slashing benefits for their own voters, I choose. And maybe this is just our personal worldview, Anna, that we might maybe wish casting that if people feel it materially that they will turn on Trump. Some people might say they care about the culture stuff so much that it won't matter. I tend to believe if people actually start missing Social Security checks, if people's Medicaid actually gets cut, I think they are going to see a severe backlash from their voters.
Yeah, and I want to draw a distinction because there are people who I think just despise Trump so much that they just want the satisfaction of seeing his base turn on him. I don't really care about Trump, okay? What I do care about though is ensuring that our taxes actually go toward making the lives of American citizens better and lifting Americans up when they need something or when they're falling on tough times, right? So in the case of Medicaid, that is state-run healthcare, largely funded by federal tax dollars, but also through state resources as well, to help the poor have access to healthcare. Okay, I mean, that is a perfect example of a government program that I want my tax money to go toward. So the idea that the House is going to have the committee responsible for Medicaid essentially find $880 billion in cuts for the Medicaid program infuriates me, especially at a time when the Trump administration, in the span of 1 month, bypassed Congress twice to send $6 billion of military aid to Israel. Like, what are we? Please explain to me what the F I'm paying my federal taxes for if it's not making the lives of my fellow Americans better. That's what I want to know. So for me, I want the backlash to actually serve a substantive purpose outside of, oh, I hate Trump and I want Trump to suffer. Again, I don't care about that. I want that backlash to result in the Republican Party backing the F away from cutting programs that help fellow Americans. Whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, these are the programs that we need to protect. So look, maybe it is wish casting. Maybe his base loves him so much that even if he screws them over in that very substantive way, they'll give him a pass. But I really hope that's not true. We're gonna have to wait and see. All right, but there's a lot going on today. Let's talk a little bit about the Trump address of joint Congress. So House and Senate will be there. There's a lot of talk about what kind of guests various, government officials are gonna bring with them, members of Congress are gonna bring with them. So according to a senior administration official that spoke to NBC News, the theme for tonight's address will be the renewal of the American dream. The president is likely to focus his remarks on immigration, new tariffs, and the Department of Government Efficiency's efforts to slash budgets and fire federal workers, as well as the administration's efforts to eliminate DEI programs from federal government, a senior administration official told NBC News last week. So look, I've noticed that Trump and Elon Musk have increasingly felt the need to defend what's happening with Doge. I wonder if that's because they're starting to feel a little bit of backlash from Republican voters. It remains to be seen. But there are other areas where Trump is performing really well with his base, and so he's definitely gonna touch on immigration tonight as well. Additionally, another senior administration official told NBC the president is also expected to call on Congress to provide additional funding for border protection and deportation efforts. There will be a lot of surprises and a lot of made-for-TV moments, this Trump administration official said. So, I have no doubt. Apparently, the Democratic Party is planning to do some form of protest during Trump's speech. We'll see how that plays out. What are you expecting, Waz?
Just the regular Trump bluster. To be honest with you, on the list of things that Trump's been doing outside of that first 3-day wave, immigration has kind of been at the bottom. It's been all Elon, all Doge, all the time. So I would expect him to get this sort of, try to get some attention back on the quote unquote immigration efforts. I was told that we were promised mass deportations and 10 million people, upwards of 10 million people were supposed to be getting deported from this country. To this point, I think they've gotten 20,000.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it. And to be honest, the immigration question, more than anything, is what this guy ran on. I think the DEI stuff and anti-woke, I think that stuff is sort of an appendage to the immigration stuff. It's all of a piece, but the main thing, the sort of heart, the nucleus, whatever, the focal point, it was immigration, and that stuff has tailed off. And if you're a Trump voter who thought you were getting mass deportation, round up all the bad immigrants and get them out of here, whether you're sending them to Gitmo or you're sending them back to their own country, you're not getting any of that. And so obviously I would expect Trump to try to hit that one early on.
So they're getting a little of that, but certainly not anything close to what Trump was promising on the campaign trail. And look, to be honest, I expected it to play out this way because it's fine to think that you want to deport 10 million undocumented immigrants from the country. Number one, the economy would tank. There's no question about it. But put that aside, even if you genuinely want to do that, you need resources, you need the infrastructure to do it, you need the detention facilities to do it. We don't have that, right? This is why the idea of essentially bypassing Congress and doing everything through executive order just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Who has the power of the purse? Unfortunately, our dysfunctional, useless Congress that has ceded a lot of power to the executive branch, but at the end of the day, they control the purse strings. So if you don't have the resources, you don't have the manpower, you don't have the infrastructure to carry out your policies, you're not gonna be able to carry out your policies. And that's probably the reason why there isn't a lot of attention being paid to what's happening with Trump's immigration policies at the moment, especially with some of the conservative media. But I have noticed that Tom Homan, the so-called border czar, is on Fox News pretty regularly. He's constantly asking Congress for more resources, but he also emphasizes that they're going after, undocumented immigrants who have committed other crimes within the country. And to be sure, I've seen, raids play out in some of these blue cities. Just recently, there were some raids in Los Angeles. And so some of this stuff is happening, but in regard to like his grand scheme of deporting 10 million people, that's not gonna happen. At least not with the pace that things are going right now. So.
Yeah, I think that's out of the question. And to something else that you mentioned, Anna, this idea that there's gonna be bells and whistles and surprises and guests and all of that. Like, I don't know, man. Again, people might say I'm wishfully thinking, and I get it. Elon is still kind of pretty popular with Republicans. I know there's a sense out there that Republicans think that Elon is some kind of genius, business genius, richest man in the world, blah, 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 blah. I just don't think this guy long-term making himself the face of the United States government with his obvious social awkwardness is going to play. I just really don't think so. And the more Trump wants to align himself with these ghouls who nobody likes, if anybody spends any time listening to these guys speak about what they're like actual worldview, it's quite disgusting. I'm sure you saw Elon or Joe Rogan trying to explain why Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Mind you, this is the purveyor of the Dogecoin. Okay, calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme and really he didn't come up with a good reason why.
No, he didn't.
He was just talking. It was almost like he was caught off guard when he's like, Rogan was like, no, explain that. And he was like, well, like, I don't think this is gonna work long term.
Waz, okay, can I just say something? You're correct. Yeah. As soon as Rogan said, explain that, he was like stuttering and mumbling. And we talked about that story yesterday. I edited the clip to literally get the best part of his explanation, where he's not stuttering, he's not stumbling, he just tries to make a point about how the Social Security system will be insolvent. And so, yeah, that's why we have to lift the Social Security tax cap. There's an easy solution to it. He's pretending like he doesn't know that solution exists. But the reason why I bring that up is because one could argue I edited Elon's response in a way that made him sound more competent. Should I now be sued by some left-wing organization, or did I do that so I could be good faith and ensure that my audience understands what his argument is? His argument was weak, right? We responded to his argument, but I edited the clip down for time, much like 60 Minutes did with Kamala Harris in their interview. And by the way, whether it was the word salad answer in regard to Israel or the shortened answer in regard to Israel, both answers were garbage. Both answers were bad.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to get into like, trusting the intelligence of the audience, but I'm sorry, like, whatever version of what Elon said or what Kamala be saying in public, the general public is going to realize like this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And I love the idea that this program that everybody is one of the most universally beloved government programs of all time in Social Security, that it's about to run out or become insolvent, whatever use you want to do, whatever way you want to say that. And the answer that Elon comes up with is to kill it prematurely,
right?
Not to make it better and extend this very popular thing. His answer is to kill it because quote unquote Ponzi scheme. Meanwhile, the self-dealing with the $400 million Tesla trucks. I mean, are we even gonna get into the freaking crypto scam?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
by the
Jesus
way,
Christ.
So what Waz is referring to is the announcement that Trump made in regard to the United States government creating a crypto reserve. So Bitcoin is involved, but there are two smaller meme coins involved. We're gonna do a crypto reserve of meme coins. And what I thought was so interesting is that during Elon Musk's interview with Rogan, they were both going after meme coins, like mocking meme coins, mocking people who are dumb enough to invest their life savings into meme coins. Now, every single American taxpayer is forced to invest in meme coins on behalf of the American government's crypto reserve. Insane.
But look, and here's the most depressing part about all of this. They're handing the Democrats a layup. Like aligning yourself with Elon Musk and this idea that he knows he's the king of America. He knows everything that we should be spending our money on. And like, I thought it was pretty smart to go after USAID, honestly. Like there's no normal Americans gonna see that and think that they're gonna, like normal Americans are not gonna cry over that. But now you're going after Social Security, like administration workers and all of this stuff. Like they're handing these guys a layup. But here's the problem. David Sachs, big Trump guy, heavily invested in all these cryptocurrencies, stands to personally gain from taxpaying dollars being the backstop of this crap, right? It's just obvious corruption, obvious self-dealing. It wasn't that long ago Kamala Harris was running for president and she was telling the crypto bros, we got you. So how is the Democratic leadership, how can they, this is a gift. It's just obvious that Trump's billionaire boy is writing a check for himself with American taxpayers. To no benefit, like there's no tangible benefit to any American who doesn't own, some of these cryptocurrencies, right? And the Democrats could just easily go out and kill these people for this, but they can't, they won't, because they're in bed with the same exact people. So the third way people do their little, wellness retreat. How are we gonna get the Democratic Party? They go on a White Lotus retreat, Anna. How are we gonna get the Democratic Party back in line? And their answer is, we need to fight against the tyranny of small dollar donors.
I know,
Anna.
I know. They need that. They're
the ones more out of touch with the American voter.
That's how everything fell apart.
The
Democratic Party
in Silicon Valley
raising money from the grassroots. That was the problem. That was the problem. God, Democrats are so embarrassing and so incompetent. So incompetent.
It's scary.
And thank you for reminding me of the fact that Kamala Harris was very much siding with the crypto bros during the election cycle. I mean, that's why I do not begrudge anyone for voting any way that they decided to vote in the presidential election. Because honestly, what options do you have? What options do you have? Like, come on. So I wanna just quickly talk a little bit about how Democrats are planning to respond to Trump's address of Congress today. Elon Omar gave an interview and talked about some of the protest actions that the Democratic Party might take. Let's take a quick look at that.
What does defiance look like?
I mean, it will look different for every member. I think this go around, we shouldn't be surprised if we see walkouts. We shouldn't be surprised if we see, the kind of coordinated effort in dressing a certain way to send a message. We shouldn't be surprised if we see people might even, verbally react to some of the lies that we know he is going to tell about the work that his administration is doing and the harm that is causing the American people.
Okay, so just want to get your thoughts on some of the things that she raised as potential protest actions by Democrats during the Trump address.
I mean, this doesn't move me. The idea that they will wear matching outfits, which will remind me of the day that Pelosi and Schumer and these other ones wore kente cloth because they wanted black people to know that they feel. We're not gonna pass any meaningful legislation. We're not gonna actually do anything material about the pain and suffering of, the most marginalized Black American citizens in our country. We're not gonna actually do anything to address it, but we will wear a cool scarf. Yeah, cool little thing hanging off the shoulder. Like, Guys, we gotta be better than this. It's not enough. And, shouting your objections at his, I guess, man, I don't think a single American is gonna feel like, wow, the Democrats really are turning the tide on this BS because, a couple of people walked out of, made a show of themselves to walk out of Trump's State of the Union. I don't know, man. I'd like to see them actually addressing the root causes of the problem, which is this guy has nothing but billionaires and oligarchs surrounding him in both his advisors and the people he's nominated to be in his cabinet. And they are just stealing from our tax dollars. They're literally just paying themselves with our tax money because of their proximity to Donald Trump.
While slashing services.
While slashing services, right? While going out and calling your Social Security a Ponzi scheme. He's calling your Social Security a scam while paying himself billions in government contracts. It's from the same coffers, folks. Go out and make that. But again, the argument has to be none of these people should be anywhere near our government. But of course, they can't make that argument.
Yeah. They're attempting to kind of make that argument by bringing guests who are constituents who rely on programs like Medicare, for instance, like Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire. Her guest is Cherry Breyer. Was able to access residential addiction treatment, enter recovery and return to work, and is supporting moms in recovery, all because of her Medicaid eligibility. Then you have Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada. Jackie Rosen's bringing Dominic Rampa, a teenager who relies on Medicaid to cover essential treatments for health conditions associated with 9 genetic disorders. By the way, when I was growing up in California, at one point, my father lost his job. My mom wasn't working. She was a stay-at-home mom. It was a devastating time for our family. At the time, California had a Medicaid program for kids called Healthy Families, and I was able to go see a dentist, a doctor. Like, it was fantastic. And I don't know where I would be or where my family would be without those programs. And that's why it's so important to me to know that these programs remain intact, that our tax dollars are actually funding programs like this as opposed to weapons of war for other countries to cause damage and harm to others. But whether you're talking about the Trump administration or the previous administration, the Biden administration. How many times did Biden bypass Congress to send Israel weapons? How many times? We're talking about tens of billions of dollars over and over again for things that make the world worse. Like, it's just so frustrating. But it's not good enough to just bring a guest, okay? The message needs to be persistent, it needs to be loud. And I get that for whatever reason, Democratic members of Congress seem to get way more riled up about US aid programs, but please talk about the social safety net programs that are being dismantled, because that's gonna pack a bigger punch among the electorate. But it shows you like what their priorities are too, Waz, and it's just so devastating time and time again that they're not effective in messaging because it doesn't seem like their heart's in it. But maybe I have Democrat derangement syndrome. I don't know. What do you think?
Dude, Nate freaking Silver, of all people, like, he is no man of the left, y'all. He is your run-of-the-mill average lib, just right down the middle. You can't even say he's left of center. He's just a regular normie lib. And he's like, the Democrats need to make up their mind about a messaging. It can't be the good oligarchs are who we're with. Like, that doesn't speak to anybody, nobody. Okay, like, they have to choose a side. And this idea that it was the tyranny, again, look, we gotta be fair. This group called Third Way, like, they're pretty open and honest about the kind of politics they espouse. They're centrist, neoliberal scum, and they're proud of it, okay? And so, like, of course, at their little powwow get together, I'm sure they did a bunch of sound baths and all kinds of stupidity at this little getaway, right? But they're blatant about that. So like that's who they are, and that's that is one wing of the coalition, and they're being true to themselves at that conference when they talk about the small dollar donors are the problem with the party. Okay, but now it's incumbent upon the people who are actually in leadership, who actually hold power, who actually can wield some attention and get eyeballs to start messaging in a more productive manner.
Well, Hakeem Jeffries, I have faith that he's going to be an effective leader. He's going to get it done, Waz.
Have mercy.
By the way, just want to say to our audience or anyone who's an aficionado of sound baths, there's nothing wrong with sound baths. We will allow them. And I denounce Wozni Lambre for making you feel judged. That was unacceptable, Waz.
Listen, man, I'm sorry, y'all, but ever since 47, we're done with feelings. The politics of feelings are finished, okay? You're gonna have to do your sound bath and enjoy it yourself. You can't expect everybody to clap for you just because you do sound baths. You gotta be satisfied with being satisfied. Okay, this is the new credo, guys. Like this whole I need praise and we don't want to other those who sound bad. We don't want to stigmatize those who sound bad. That era is over, y'all. Get it through your thick skull. We're moving past that era.
Oh my God, I think you need the salty moniker. I will pass it down to you. You're way saltier than I am these days, but you know what? I love it. And yeah, look, I largely agree. We need an opposition party that actually focuses on the bread and butter issues. No more distractions with whatever they want to distract with in order to continue with the corporate robbery of the American people. We need a party that actually looks out for working Americans. And right now, I can think of one Democrat who's literally traveling the country and speaking to and for working Americans, and that's Senator Bernie Sanders. So he's been right. I mean, after the disastrous election results, you even had some moderate Democrats come out, centrist Democrats come out and admit Bernie's right, but how quickly they forget. So,
well, they went back to the French Laundry and had dinner with the donors, and they got smacked back into shape.
Yep.
The donors spanked them and said, "Hey, I don't want to lose, but at the same time, I'm not trying to change up my politics. Are you kidding me?"
Yep.
This is a class project. That's what these people don't want to tell you, man. Even the thing about DEI and all of that, like folks don't want to admit it. It's a class project. I'm sorry, it's for folks like me at my job, my nice shiny job at Spotify. Yes, it's nice when they hire 3 more black people at Spotify. It's nice for me. I'm more likely to get a promotion. It's nice for me and the people around me. I can do nice things when I get my promotion. I promise you that shit don't sprinkle down to no black people. Sorry, excuse my French. I'm sorry. It's just this stuff just gets on my nerves. The stuff that the Democrats do, like this idea that and you're still seeing it. Like we need to fight for DEI, guys. I promise you, dude. 5 more Oprahs wouldn't do a single thing for anybody in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Black people suffering in Arkansas, black people suffering in East New York and Brooklyn or Brownsville, black people suffering in South Central. I promise you, we could make 10 more Oprahs. It wouldn't be a drop in the bucket. I promise you, but those people who are most proximate to the people in the DNC, to the corporate interests, of course, they're like, yo, we need about 3 more black people on your corporate board. It's gonna do wonders for the poor Negroes. It's like, it's a joke. It's a class project. It's a distraction. It doesn't do anything for any everyday Americans. Yes, it's nice. A couple more black screenwriters got Oscar nods. Great. What did it do for black people that were suffering? Not a damn thing. And I promise you too, that's another thing. These elite movies, these Oscar nom movies by black people don't watch that stuff.
my God.
But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. And I'm just fired up for the state of emergency, the state of the union. Sorry, y'all.
No, you were right the first time. Waz, I appreciate you so much. You're the best. Thank you so much for coming in and doing the bonus episode with me today. I appreciate you.
Love you guys. Always happy to be on with you guys.
All right, we're gonna move over to the coverage that Cenk is doing for the Trump address. Everyone have a wonderful night. Enjoy the coverage. Thank you again, Waz. We'll see you soon.